In a dramatic escalation of the ongoing conflict, Ukraine faced a severe blackout as a result of a significant missile strike by Russian forces targeting Kyiv's energy infrastructure. This latest attack has intensified concerns over the resilience of Ukraine's energy grid, already strained after years of conflict. Amidst this turmoil, former President Donald Trump has stirred controversy by suggesting that Ukraine could one day become part of Russia. His remarks coincide with claims of a potential $500 billion deal involving rare earth minerals between Ukraine and the U.S., a statement that has raised eyebrows within the international community. Trump's comments came during an interview with Fox News where he stated they may make a deal. They may not make a deal. They may be Russian someday or they may not be Russian someday. But we're going to have all this money in Ukraine and I say, I want it back. This assertion adds a layer of complexity to the geopolitical landscape as Ukraine continues to fight for its sovereignty. The former president's push for financial compensation in the form of rare earth minerals highlights the ongoing competition for resources in a region that contains critical materials used in high-tech industries. In response to Trump's remarks, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky expressed concern that a withdrawal of U.S. support would leave Europe unable to adequately fill the security void. There are voices which say that Europe could offer security guarantees without the Americans, and I always say no, Zelensky told The Guardian. His comments underscore the reliance of Ukraine on U.S. military and financial aid, which has been pivotal in its defense against Russian aggression. The backdrop of these developments includes ongoing military actions. With Ukraine recently advancing in the Kursk region and launching drone strikes against strategic locations in Russia, including oil refineries crucial for its military logistics. The integration of drone operations into ground forces is a key component of Ukraine's military strategy, as outlined by Defense Minister Rustem Umerov, who announced the formation of a drone line project aimed at enhancing operational coordination. However, the situation remains dire for civilians. The United Nations reported that drone warfare has become the leading cause of civilian casualties in Ukraine, with at least 139 deaths and 738 injuries recorded in January alone. The humanitarian toll continues to mount as the conflict persists, with nearly 12,500 civilian deaths since the onset of the war. On the Russian side, the military's logistical challenges have reportedly reached a critical point, with unverified reports indicating that Russian forces are resorting to using donkeys for ammunition transport due to severe shortages of military vehicles. This stark imagery reflects the ongoing struggle within the Russian military as it grapples with significant equipment losses and the pressures of prolonged engagement. Further complicating the situation, reports surfaced indicating that Russian authorities have allegedly authorized the systematic torture of Ukrainian prisoners of war in Russian detention facilities since early in the conflict. Such allegations not only highlight the brutal realities of the war but also pose potential repercussions for Russia on the international stage, especially concerning accountability for war crimes. As the situation evolves, the geopolitical ramifications of Trump's remarks and the ongoing military actions by both Ukraine and Russia are likely to have lasting impacts on regional stability and international relations. With the war now entering its third year, the global community remains watchful of how these developments will shape the future of Ukraine and its struggle for sovereignty amidst a backdrop of shifting alliances and military strategies. As geopolitical tensions continue to escalate, the ongoing conflict between Russia and Ukraine remains a focal point in international affairs. The latest developments reveal a dual narrative. On one hand, Ukraine is making strategic advancements in drone integration and targeted strikes against Russian infrastructure. On the other, revelations of systematic war crimes committed by Russian authorities cast a dark shadow over the Kremlin's military operations. On February 10, 2025, Ukrainian Defense Minister Rustem Umerov announced an innovative initiative called the Drone Line Project, which aims to enhance the integration of drone and ground operations within the Ukrainian military. Umerov emphasized that this initiative would allow Ukrainian forces to create kill zones extending 10 to 15 kilometers deep into enemy territory. thereby facilitating enhanced aerial support and operational efficiency. "We are going to scale up our existing drone regiments and brigades," he stated, highlighting the project as a formalization of existing efforts to bolster drone capabilities alongside ground troops. In contrast, Russian military strategies have centered on centralizing drone operations, which has led to bureaucratic inefficiencies. The Russian Ministry of Defense's attempts to consolidate drone units and integrate them into the military bureaucracy have raised concerns about the agility and responsiveness of Russian forces on the battlefield. Analysts suggest that this centralization may hinder rapid technological adaptations necessary for effective combat operations. Amidst these military maneuvers, Ukrainian forces have been actively targeting critical infrastructure within Russia, particularly oil refineries that play a vital role in supplying fuel to Russian military operations. Lieutenant Andriy Kovalenko, head of Ukraine's Center for Combating Disinformation, indicated that Ukrainian drones successfully struck the Afipsky oil refinery in Krasnodar, a facility crucial for providing diesel and jet fuel to Russian forces. The ongoing campaign against such infrastructures underscores Ukraine's strategy to disrupt Russia's logistical capabilities. However, the conflict is marred by shocking reports of war crimes. Investigations reveal that Russian authorities have been systematically torturing Ukrainian prisoners of war since the onset of the full-scale invasion in March 2022. A report from the Wall Street Journal detailed accounts from former Russian prison guards and medical personnel who reported that Russian officials explicitly instructed prison authorities to treat Ukrainian POWs with cruelty. Such revelations not only emphasize the inhumane conditions under which these prisoners are held but also reflect the complicity of Russian authorities in these violations. In a surprising geopolitical twist, the Kremlin is reportedly facilitating the influx of North Korean citizens into Russia, possibly to bolster its workforce or military ranks. Russian ambassador to North Korea Alexander Matsegura noted that educational cooperation between the two nations is set to increase, with North Korean professors scheduled to teach in Russian universities. This development occurs in the context of growing international isolation for North Korea and raises questions about the implications of such a partnership for regional security dynamics. The economic dimensions of the conflict are also evident in the pro-Russian breakaway Republic of Transnistria, which recently rejected a €60 million aid package from the EU to address its gas crisis. Moldovan Prime Minister Dorin Risian attributed Transnistria's refusal to pressure from Moscow, demonstrating Russia's continued economic influence in the region. This refusal highlights the Kremlin's prioritization of its geopolitical interests over the welfare of the population in Transnistria. As the conflict intensifies, military operations continue to evolve. Reports indicate that both Ukrainian and Russian forces are engaged in heavy fighting, particularly in the Kursk region, where Ukrainian incursions have prompted Russian military redeployments. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky noted that such operations have effectively stymied Russian plans for offensives in other regions, illustrating the tactical significance of Ukraine's maneuvers. In the face of ongoing assaults, the humanitarian toll is staggering. The United Nations recently reported that drone strikes have become the leading cause of civilian casualties in the conflict, with substantial loss of life attributed to both Ukrainian and Russian drone operations. The UN estimates that nearly 12,500 civilians have lost their lives since the war's inception, underscoring the devastating impact of the conflict on the civilian population. As the international community watches these developments closely, the potential for further escalation remains high. The interplay of military strategies, humanitarian crises, and geopolitical maneuvering reveals a complex and evolving conflict that will likely shape regional and global dynamics for years to come. The coming weeks and months will be critical in determining whether diplomatic resolutions can be achieved or if the conflict will spiral further into chaos. In the complex and ever-evolving landscape of Eastern European geopolitics, recent developments surrounding Ukraine and Russia have heightened tensions and sparked significant discourse on potential peace negotiations. As the conflict persists and casualties mount, the discourse has been further inflamed by comments from former U.S. President Donald Trump, who suggested that Ukraine may or may not be Russian someday. This statement, made during a Fox News interview, comes at a time when Trump's aides are set to visit Ukraine, signaling a possible shift in U.S. diplomatic strategy. On the ground, Ukraine has been enduring relentless assaults on its energy infrastructure, with Russian forces targeting key gas facilities, intensifying the humanitarian crisis. Ukrainian Energy Minister German Galashchenko confirmed that emergency restrictions were in place following a recent wave of attacks, underscoring the ongoing struggle to maintain energy supplies amidst the chaos of war. The situation remains dire as Ukraine continues to seek international support and resilience against Russia's aggression. Amid this turmoil, the Kremlin is playing its cards close to its chest. Russian Deputy Foreign Minister Sergei Ryabkov has made it clear that any potential peace negotiations hinge on specific conditions, such as Ukraine abandoning its NATO aspirations and withdrawing from occupied territories. This stance illustrates Russia's hardline approach as it navigates the complexities of international pressure and internal challenges. In parallel, Russian President Vladimir Putin recently acknowledged inflation as a pressing concern for the country's economy during a televised meeting with Prime Minister Mikhail Mishustin. With inflation rates reaching nearly 10%, Putin emphasized the need for balanced growth and directed the government to devise strategies to mitigate rising consumer prices. This acknowledgement reflects the broader economic strains exacerbated by Western sanctions and increased military expenditures, indicating that the war's repercussions are being felt not just on the battlefield but also within Russia's own economic framework. The situation is further complicated by internal political dynamics within Slovakia, where Prime Minister Robert Fico faced scrutiny over a December meeting with Putin. The Slovak Prosecutor General's office dismissed a criminal complaint against Fico, asserting that there was insufficient evidence to suggest any wrongdoing during the meeting, which was primarily focused on gas supply discussions. Critics, however, argue that Fico's actions contradict Slovakia's commitments as a European Union member, highlighting the contentious nature of political alignments in the region. As the international community watches these developments closely, the potential for peace talks remains uncertain. Trump's remarks have sparked a mix of hope and apprehension, particularly among Ukrainians who are wary of any compromises that could jeopardize their sovereignty. The upcoming visit by Trump's aides and his expressed desire for a swift end to the conflict could signal a new approach in U.S. diplomacy, but it will require careful navigation to balance the interests of all parties involved. Looking ahead, the stakes are high as Ukraine continues to defend its territory while grappling with the humanitarian and economic ramifications of an ongoing war. Meanwhile, Russia must contend with internal economic challenges and external pressures as it seeks to solidify its position in the region. The coming weeks will be critical in shaping the trajectory of this conflict as both sides weigh the prospects of peace against the backdrop of enduring tensions. As tensions continue to escalate in Eastern Europe, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has issued a stark warning about the future of Ukraine's security in the wake of shifting political tides in the United States. In a recent exclusive interview with The Guardian, Zelensky emphasized that without unwavering American support, Europe alone cannot guarantee Ukraine's safety against Russian aggression. His comments come ahead of a critical diplomatic trip to the Munich Security Conference, where he aims to engage with key figures in President Donald Trump's administration. Zelensky firmly stated security guarantees without America are not real security guarantees. As he prepares for what could be a pivotal moment in his efforts to secure ongoing support. His remarks reflect a deep-seated concern that a potential withdrawal of U.S. backing could leave Ukraine vulnerable, especially as Trump has expressed a desire to end the war, albeit with skepticism about the terms under which such a deal would be brokered. In his bid to realign U.S. support, Zelensky is prepared to offer lucrative reconstruction contracts to American firms, a strategic move aimed at garnering favor with Trump. Those who are helping us to save Ukraine will have the chance to renovate it, he noted, highlighting the economic incentives tied to U.S. engagement in Ukraine's post-war reconstruction. This approach underscores a dual strategy, reinforcing Ukraine's military capabilities while simultaneously appealing to American business interests. Zelensky's upcoming meetings with Trump's inner circle, including Vice President J.D. Vance, are particularly crucial given Vance's prior reluctance to meet with him. The Ukrainian president hopes these discussions will solidify a framework for U.S. support which is pivotal not just for military aid but also for economic recovery. Trump's administration has shown a keen interest in securing access to Ukraine's natural resources, notably rare earth minerals, which could serve as a bargaining chip in future negotiations. The geopolitical landscape is further complicated by Trump's recent remarks suggesting that Ukraine may be Russian someday. This statement has raised alarms in Kyiv as Zelensky seeks to navigate a diplomatic tightrope where any perceived concession could undermine Ukraine's territorial integrity. In response to Trump's comments, the Kremlin has indicated that a portion of Ukraine's population aligns with such sentiments, adding to the pressure on Zelensky to maintain a strong negotiating position. As Zelensky prepares for his discussions in Munich, the backdrop of ongoing Russian military actions, including drone strikes that continue to threaten civilian areas, remains a sobering reminder of the stakes involved. The Ukrainian president has articulated the necessity of continued U.S. military support, citing the effectiveness of American-made Patriot air defense systems as essential to Ukraine's defense strategy. Looking ahead, Zelensky's ability to secure a meeting with Trump could prove decisive. He expressed optimism, stating, "We are hoping that our teams will fix a date and a plan of meetings in the U.S. As soon as it is agreed, we are ready." However, he remains acutely aware of the challenges posed by fluctuating U.S. political dynamics and differing views within the administration regarding the future of U.S.-Ukraine relations. In conclusion, as Zelensky embarks on this crucial diplomatic mission, the outcomes of his meetings could shape not only the future of U.S.-Ukraine relations but also the broader security architecture in Europe. The need for a cohesive and robust response to Russian aggression is more pressing than ever, and the interplay between economic incentives and security guarantees will likely define the next chapter in this ongoing conflict. The world will be watching closely as this pivotal moment unfolds at the Munich Security Conference.